It's KFI AM 640, and you're listening to The Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app. We'll talk about politics here in a second, about what happened last night. But first, a home invasion robbery in the Sherman Oaks area, shots fired. So it's not getting any better out there. We talk about home invasion robberies almost every night, almost every afternoon here on this program that are happening in Studio City, Sherman Oaks, Encino, Tarzana, Woodland Hills, Calabasas, that whole run, that whole northern face of the Santa Monica Mountains. It happens a lot. And another one just happened, so we're getting information on that, and we'll tell you where and how gruesome it was, who got hurt, did anybody get killed, did anybody get injured. We'll have that for you in a minute. But first, last night with politics, I watched a bunch of stations, and a lot of people were reporting that this is a complete referendum on Donald Trump's position on all these issues. That's not true. That's not true. It was New Jersey, which is a blue state, voting blue. It was New York, blue state, voting blue. Virginia, blue state, voting blue. And California, blue state, voting blue. So they're either purposely misleading you or they're not very bright or they're lying to you when they say that. Okay, that being said, I like that this guy won in New York. This Mondami, is that his name, Mondami? And I don't follow local politics much because I find it pretty boring. But I think that he is the beginning of the new Democratic Party. He's the face of the new Democratic Party. Now, I'm a student of communism. I don't know,
Huh?
What?
No, what? How, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I never told you about that?
No.
Yeah, my dad was outed as a communist in Hollywood and spent 3 or 4 years on the sideline,
What?
because he couldn't work. Yeah, they were going to do with the Apple Dumpling Gang rides again and again. It was going to be the third in the trilogy of the Apple Dumpling Gangs, and they found out my dad was a communist, and they wouldn't hire him.
What? When did the Apple Dumpling Gang?
Late 70s.
Okay, the communist movement. That was like in the
It continued.
Like the 30s to the 50s. You're talking about the 70s?
And you're telling me that from when you were a child in Denver? You studied the communists in Hollywood when you were a child in Denver?
We studied things and
Is that right?
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah. I've
And my
never
mom,
heard you talk about that.
It's totally true. Look it up. And my mom was a big communist as well. She once dated Fidel Castro. I mean, not for long, but they went out to dinner. Yes, that's a true story.
That is not a true story.
Is that why they call her Big Red?
That's right. Yeah, I never wanted to say that, but thanks, Angel. Appreciate
I thought
that.
she had red hair, and that's why they called her
Whatever.
No,
I'm a student of communism.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
And I will tell you that communism and socialism doesn't work, but it has never been tried in a well-established economy. Socialism and communism has always been introduced to a country or a region when that country wasn't doing well. But the United States is doing well, and we've never had a socialist or a communist run a big city or a state, and now we do. So we're going to see whether it works. If it works, it will spread throughout the country. If it doesn't work, well, they'll go back to the old days. But I'm not afraid, and I don't hate this new generation of Democrats. AOC and the people, the younger generation of Democrats, they seem to be talking the talk and walking the walk, or whatever that saying is, walking the talk and walking the walk. Okay, let's go with that. They seem to be out for the citizens. The old school liberal Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, I'll throw Newsom in there, the leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer. Those old school, that's over. That ended last night. That's done. They are done. But Nancy Pelosi only fought for herself. She lined her pockets. She made hundreds of millions of dollars off the backs of, selling you a better home, a better job, a better economy, all that stuff. And look what she did to California and more specifically San Francisco. It's an S-hole. So I like these newer, and I think the Democrats have found their version of the Tea Party that the Republicans did years ago. The Republicans threw out all the oldsters years and years and years ago. Most of them are gone. But the Democrats held on to them, like Chuck Schumer. But I think Bernie Sanders is part of the younger, even though he's 85 or 88, however old he is. He's in the younger generation. He's with AOC and Mondami. He's with that group. And he would have won. He would have beaten Donald Trump for president if he wasn't smashed and crushed by the Clinton machine. Okay, there's another one. There's another old school Democrat, the Clintons. The Clintons, the Pelosi's, all of that is over. It's over. And last night was the beginning of the new Democratic Party. The AOCs and that group is taking over. And by the way, I share a birthday with AOC. She was born on October 13th, and so was I. Couple years apart, I'll give her that. But, when you share a birthday with somebody, you sort of have something in common. When you went to, when they went to school, they celebrated on the same day. When I celebrate my birthday now, I celebrate on the same day as AOC. So that's kind of a weird connection, but it's a connection. But it's going to be exciting to see the new Democratic Party, the party that fights for employees, not employers, and fights to, for everything that they need. Housing, cheaper prices on everything. So we'll see. We'll see if it works in New York. If socialism / borderline communism, if they do take over businesses, let's see if it works in New York. If it works in New York, again, it'll spread throughout the country. If it doesn't work in New York, back to old school. But I think if you're Chuck Schumer, like Nancy Pelosi was interviewed on Alex Michelson, The Story Is, a brand new show on CNN, and she said she was retiring. She's a very smart woman. Very calculated. And the reason why she said she's retiring, because she knew if this Mondami got into New York, she's done. She is done. And when she said, I could win with ease, she doesn't believe that. She knew she would probably lose. She would get primaried and probably lose. The new Democratic Party started last night. And this old Democratic Party that sold you lies and misrepresentations and lined their own pockets with money is over. It's done. Last night was the beginning of the end of it. All right, we'll come back on, I think we're having Monks on. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, we'll put Michael Monks on. All right, very good. We're live on KFI AM 640. We'll get information on this home invasion in Sherman Oaks. Shots fired. Shots fired. We'll come back and talk about that as well. Crazy day.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. On Demand from KFI AM 640.
Before we get to Monks, nice to see you, Monks. How you, bub?
Hey, I'm well. It's great to see you, too.
I was at Jamba Juice listening to you last night with Chris Merrill, and you had some other cat on. And while I was eating one of those big-ass orange dream machines.
Yeah, how
those
go
are
down?
Beautiful, man. Oh, and enough yogurt in there where it didn't really upset my stomach.
You think it's going to help keep you regular?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I hope so, too.
That's the key.
Just text me later.
Okay, excellent. All right, let's get into this before we talk to Monks about last night and all the the numbers, the totals, and what direction the country is going in. There is a problem in Sherman Oaks. Another home invasion, and this one, shots have been fired.
This is the 14,800 block of Otsego Street near Willis. Now, we understand that LAPD Van Nuys Division officers got the call of a home invasion hot prowl on this street. I'm going to zoom into a house that we believe was the target of those home invaders. I could tell you that the homeowner was at home at the time when three males attempted to enter his house. At some point, shots were fired, and it's unclear if the homeowner did the shooting or if it was the suspects that opened fire. But they were last seen leaving eastbound on Otsego Street towards Van Nuys Boulevard in a gray Jeep Cherokee. Now, we understand that I can tell you that it appeared that the homeowner was not injured. There were no injuries reported from that shooting. But again, LAPD is investigating this shots fired at a home invasion here in Sherman Oaks. That's the latest overhead up in Sky 5.
All right, so the 1400 block, I think what he said of it's Otsego, but I'm not going to get down on him for that. You know, I grew up in that area, so I knew that street. All right, Monks is with us. How you, bub? Nice to see you, man.
Yeah, doing better than those poor folks who had their home invaded today.
But it happens a lot. It happens every single day in LA. So what do you say? What do you know about last night? What are we seeing? What are the trends? And am I right that it's over for old school Democrats?
Well, it's a lot there.
Okay.
And I think it was a good day for Democrats, regardless of where you fall on the ideological spectrum. If you're a traditional moderate Democrat, a liberal Democrat, or even a leftist who cosplays as a Democrat but really has other political party leanings,
sure,
it was a good day. There's just no getting around it. All across the board, up and down the country.
But was it a real test? Because these votes came out of New Jersey, blue state, New York, blue state, Virginia, blue state, and California, blue state.
Well, Virginia currently has a Republican governor, and next time around it will have a Democratic governor.
But it also went for in the last presidential election, they did not vote for Trump.
No, and this time around, they actually went more for Abigail Spanberger than they went for former Vice President Kamala Harris in the presidential election.
Okay,
and then what you see here in California.
What I'm saying is we haven't had a test like in the Deep South yet.
That's not necessarily true.
Is that right?
Hold on to your pants. I know the Jamba Juice is ready to fly out of there, but if you could just give me an extra minute.
Okay.
There was an obscure election in the state of Georgia for one of their statewide energy commissions.
Oh, my God.
Get
out of here.
No, it's a statewide election that had not seen Democrats elected.
Please don't sell me that. Please, let's move on. Don't sell me a small, minute.
You said there wasn't. This is
Trust
actually.
Me, I'm talking about a statewide important office.
This was statewide,
not a commission,
and Democrats won for the first time in decades with overwhelming turnout. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of the Democratic Party. I'm just here to tell you you're wrong.
I'm telling you you're wrong. That is not a statewide. You wait until it's governor or the next presidential election. This is not some kind of phony state energy board.
There's midterm elections that obviously come around in the middle of a president's term. And those are an even number of years.
Right.
But you do also have these odd number yeared gubernatorial elections that pop up in places like Virginia, New Jersey. And in the middle of the next presidential term, you'll see it in the the odd numbered years as well. Obviously, people who watch politics want to lick their thumb, stick it in the air, and see whether this is any type of bellwether. That's unclear.
Right.
What is clear is that yesterday was a monumental victory for Democrats for a variety of reasons.
In blue
now,
states.
I heard you talking about Mamdani, who is the mayor-elect now of New York City, maybe being the future of the Democratic Party. That's the direction that they're heading in.
Right.
Well, he won with 51% of the vote. That's a victory, and he defeated a political scion, a former governor of New York. This was not an easy task. He defeated them with 51% of the vote. But more moderate Democrats carried Virginia, carried New Jersey with more traditional Democratic messaging. So it's difficult to say whether the National Democratic Party is falling in the direction of Zohran Mamdani or the two women who won the gubernatorial seats in the East Coast.
Okay, here's what I'm trying to say. It is going to be difficult for the politicians on both sides, Republican and Democrat, who have lined their own pockets for years. That is coming out, the Nancy Pelosi's, Chuck Schumer. I think it's over for these people. I really do.
What's over?
I think their careers are coming to an end. I think the new energy with that party is AOC, Mamdani, and those types.
Well, I can tell you you're right about Nancy Pelosi because there is somebody important in that conversation who agrees with you that the career is over, and it's Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
She has said she's not running for re-election next year.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that she's getting out because she's smart and she knew that she probably it would have been trouble for her.
And she's like 87.
Right. Yeah. But anything else that happened last night that was a surprise?
Honestly, it was the margins that I think surprised everybody because when this Prop 50 thing was first announced, polling on it was not overwhelmingly supportive. It was about 50%, maybe. It looked like it had a fighting chance.
Right.
But it won by 30 points. And then in Virginia and New Jersey, you saw these Democrats really run up the scoreboard.
Right. And that probably was in California, big FU to Donald Trump.
No question about it.
Yeah. That's a blue state doing that.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Right. So, is this going to? I heard there's lawsuits. Is that happening?
Absolutely. The Republican Party of California is now going to try to stop this thing. You know, there's an interesting argument here. And perhaps courts should hear these cases. Whichever state is doing the redistricting, there may be some legal technicality to pursue. But we heard from the No on 50 campaign, the losing side, about how this initiative would disenfranchise Latino voters. It would make them weaker, as a voting bloc. And now that
is that true?
Yes on 50 has won. The lawsuit is alleging that this was done with racial bias in support of Latinos.
Oh, is that right?
So it's sort of a contradictory argument, and Governor Newsom is not too impressed with that argument yet and expects that his side will win in court. But you will see some changes likely in the congressional makeup. It was already overwhelmingly Democratic, 43-9. They think that this could cut that down by 5 more seats. And here locally, you could see a couple of incumbent Republican members of Congress running against each other for whatever district they're lumped into now. You've got some concerns from folks in coastal Orange County that are currently represented by a Republican who are now worried that they'll be represented by a Democrat. So you're going to see the impacts of this starting next year as long as it holds.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some really, hopefully not violent, but some real revolt in some of these communities that voted 79% against Prop 50.
Prop 50 was overwhelmingly supported in Orange County overall, though.
Right. I'm talking about Lasson. I'm talking about, Bolt. I'm talking about, the communities that are in northeastern California.
The argument.
They went 80% no, and they are not going to sit quietly.
Yeah, it's the problem with drawing maps with partisan ideology as the motivating factor. You see it in states across the country. You certainly do. And California had set a standard by saying we're going to do this with an independent commission to make these districts as fair as possible.
What was the number in Orange County?
Won by about 15 points, I think.
Really?
Yeah, it was not close.
I've been telling Orange County for 25 years, don't let the crew that killed Los Angeles into Orange County, and it looks like you have.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. on demand from KFI AM 640.
So who wrote that letter? I mean, that note. There's a note on the screen here. One of the 2 blinds. Wait. Can you read it louder?
Yeah, it says busted. We don't know who broke it, but the whole thing needs to be taken down to fix. Please don't mess with it for now. Thanks.
Okay. I broke it. Well, I open those when I come in because it's dark in here, and I open them for light. But I didn't swing on it like a jungle gym. I simply pulled the string to open it, and it fell. I didn't come in on a Saturday and say, hey, let me see how I can F this place up.
We can't have nice things, Tim.
But it says, we don't know who broke it. Like there's an investigation.
We will get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, we don't know who broke it. I'm telling you, I did. I did it yesterday.
Well, may I say this in defense of you? That breaks like every other month.
Right.
It's not put together well. And you're right. We don't need to know who broke it. It broke.
Things break.
But I do know who wrote that.
But that top line seems like somebody came in and purposely broke it and then left.
It's very accusatory.
It is. We don't know who broke it. An odd crew.
No, it's more accusatory. Like whoever you are that broke this, and
I broke it.
But then the subtext to the text is whoever broke this didn't bother to get it fixed or to let us know they broke it. And
I see. Okay, I'm guilty on that then.
Okay, that's what that's.
Oh, then I'm okay.
I know who wrote that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Tell the handwriting. I'm not saying.
Lady or man?
It's definitely a woman who wrote that.
Maybe not.
You think that's a man's writing?
Well, I'm not saying because then it would give away who wrote the note.
Okay. But I went to open it but these things break like every other month.
It's very cheap. So you're not at fault.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying it's odd that, that the first line is, let's get to the bottom of the a-hole that broke.
But may I say this? Someone else probably complained that it was broken. And so the person that wrote the note is probably doing that because somebody complained.
Okay. All right. Odd. odd.
It's radio, Tim.
I get it. God almighty. It's unbelievable. All right, we've got an update here for you on this horrible plane crash in Kentucky. And it was yesterday this happened. Okay, yesterday. Okay, this is, well, we don't have time. We'll do it when we come back. We have a rather extensive update for you on that plane crash, the UPS that crashed in Louisville, Kentucky. So when we come back, we'll update you on that. And hopefully we'll also get to the bottom of the blind gate, whatever this is. Blind gate.
You're listening to Tim Conway Jr. on demand from KFI AM 640.
The story that was breaking yesterday, horrible, horrible story coming out of Louisville, Kentucky, where a UPS plane that was leaving Kentucky and was going to make a nonstop flight to Hawaii. That's 13 hours or 12 hours and 40 minutes in the air. And so you can't imagine, it had to be filled to the brim with fuel. Had to be every single drop that they could fit into that gas can, into that gas tank, was in that plane. I don't know what the capacity is, but I bet it's over 10,000 gallons. And it all exploded. It was horrible. And here's an update. And it was tragic, too. We had people, die. And then I heard, I couldn't believe this, but I saw some social posts online saying, oh, I wonder if my packages were on that. People are so in this country, they're just so myopic. They just think of themselves. And they're like, oh, I wonder if my package that was going to Hawaii was on that thing. Oh, my God.
How many people do you think actually thought that?
I bet there is very few, but one.
Really? Because I would. If I lived in Hawaii and I heard that it was bound for Hawaii, and I was like, man, am I not going to get that T-shirt?
Oh, that's horrible.
That's, gallows humor. Man.
But you know what? Like with UPS, when you send something from LAX to Hawaii, it does go through Kentucky and then Kentucky to Hawaii.
And like the trailers, the tractor trailers that fell off the boat. What was it, a month or so ago? And down in San Pedro.
Yeah.
All those things. And I go, man, I hope I didn't have anything on that.
I think I had something on that.
On the ship?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you have? Those thongs?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's what I had on there.
Sorry.
I asked you not to talk about that. Why do you do that?
I totally forgot.
I know. You always forget when I tell you, please don't repeat this.
I do apologize. Sincerely apologize.
We'll see. All right, let's move on.
Okay. Well, at least people know you're,
What? What?
Yeah?
What? What?
I don't know.
No,
what?
You're alive.
That's what that means.
You're still living. You're still breathing.
Yeah.
That I still
You're alive.
sport those.
I was talking about your shoes.
Me too. What were you thinking I was thinking?
Your slides, your thongs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I guess people do think about that, man. I thought that was odd. Maybe, Bellio's concerned about, when that ship tipped over in San Pedro, I bet there may have been a lot of people like, hey, is my crap on that boat?
Yeah.
I didn't think it at the time. I was just concerned for, what you would be concerned about.
Right.
But it's been like a month. And so I'm starting to think,
Oh,
perhaps.
I see. Can we ask what you ordered, or have we gone through that?
We've gone through that.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to this horrible plane crash.
The NTSB says it has recovered the cockpit black box, which has suffered some heat damage, but it is built to withstand something like this. Once they're able to get the recording over to their lab in D.C., it'll give them a better understanding of what was happening before and during the flight. Bystanders watching in horror as the left engine on this UPS cargo plane detaches and catches fire during takeoff. The National Transportation Safety Board says the plane was able to clear a fence, but ultimately collided into nearby businesses and erupted into a fiery trail of debris and destruction.
With a debris field a half-mile long, we're still making the determination of exactly where and what parts of the airplane and where they're at.
The MD-11 was headed for Honolulu, and because of the long trip, it was filled with roughly 38,000 gallons of fuel.
Okay, so I was wrong. I said maybe 10 to 12,000. 38,000 gallons of not, high test, not unleaded, not regular, jet fuel. 38,000 gallons of jet fuel. Wow.
The MD-11 was headed for Honolulu, and because of the long trip, it was filled with roughly 38,000 gallons of fuel.
Oh, my
Three
God.
crew members were on board. 11 people lost their lives, with the death toll rising. One of the victims is believed to be a child.
I believe by this afternoon we'll have a pretty good grasp of both the number of fatalities and, if there are any, the number of missing persons that we're still looking for.
Louisville is home to UPS's Global Air Hub, a 5 million square foot sorting facility which sits in between two of the airport's main runways.
The odds are very high that it was instantaneous.
Aviation expert Robert Levy says on board the plane, alarms were probably going off and lights flashing to indicate fire.
Most likely, they did not have time to declare an emergency, or as we say internationally, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. I don't think they had time to do that.
And flights are resuming, according to the airport's website, but there's a major backlog from delayed flights on Tuesday and only one usable runway at the moment. In the news center, I'm Rachel Menitoff, KTLA 5 News.
Oh, that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. 38,000 gallons of jet fuel. And there was originally a story coming out that it may have hit an airline fuel depot. And if that's true, then could be another couple 100,000 gallons. And that's probably why that fire was burning late into the evening. As much water as they put on that fire, it didn't seem to have much effect initially. There were explosions going on, and that's a really, really bad deal. But it's and what people hate about something like that is, you always wonder what that's like. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a family member or friend, when you're in radical turbulence on a plane and everyone freaks out and then you survive, because it was just turbulence. But to have that come to a conclusion where everybody, dies and the whole plane crashes, that has got to be one of the worst ways to go. Like that flight 800, I think it was flight 800 out of New York that was bound for Paris. It was TWA flight 800 where the nose cone was blown off it. And that plane was in the middle of ascending. So the front of the plane was blown off, and that plane still went up. It was ascending. It was still going up for another 30 seconds with 500-mile-an-hour wind coming through that plane. I mean, just the panic on everybody on board. I imagine, though, at one point you think this has got to be a dream. There's no way this is true. And maybe that's, the last thought they had before they went. But it's just gruesome to think about how, what a way to go out like that. Oh, my God. All right, we'll give you updates. If there's any more news about fatalities, we'll have that for you. But what a real horrible scene there in Kentucky. We're live on KFI AM 640.
Conway Show on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Now, you can always hear us live on KFI AM 640, 4 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app.